For example, the Ministry of Economy and Planning has been given to the fairly dynamic private sector minister who used to be Minister of Labour, made his name in government, first as Mayor of Jeddah, Faqih. And so this just continues what we have been seeing in Saudi Arabia, which is a policy shift toward more dynamic change in the kingdom. Now, it is a little bit surprising in that it is more rapid than the manner in which changes take place in Saudi Arabia. But actually not so surprising given what we've seen over the past couple of months under King Salman.
Is this changing your outlook for growth in the kingdom? And if you're a company that's investing in Saudi Arabia, if you've been looking to invest particularly in the oil sector, etc., how do you navigate this totally changing situation?
Well, you navigate it by interpreting what's happening as a change toward a more dynamic economy where decisions are being made more rapidly. It is true that some might worry that decisions are made excessively rapidly these days, but nothing seems terribly illogical in what's going on. For example, the opening of the Saudi stock market, the Tadawul, is still slated to take place this quarter in June. All of these are positives for investors looking at the kingdom.
The foreign minister, Eid-Oakden, our Middle East editor, said he had been in power, this is Saud al-Faisal, since 1975.
Yes.
And now we're going to see the former ambassador to the United States of America take over that role.
Yes.
This is critically important, isn't it? This is one of these gear shifts,
yes,
in terms of how Saudi will be perceived on the international stage in terms of its foreign policy. Is that a fair take?
Absolutely. It's a very fair take. And I think, you know, again, in line with bringing in younger faces, younger generation, technocrats, who have proven themselves. And Adel Al-Jubair has been ambassador in Washington for quite a while. Interestingly, he was, you know, brought in by King Abdullah, so, you know, that's interesting that he's been retained by the current king in a very important position and has played a key role in articulating Saudi Arabia's position and view out of Washington on the Yemen offensive. And that obviously is very much in his favor. The Yemen offensive has become a very big deal for Saudi Arabia. And obviously that is interlinked with Saudi Arabia's role in the region vis-à-vis Iran.
And Saudi Arabia, Florence, continues to carry out airstrikes, even after announcing last week it would scale back its operations. Has it achieved its political objectives? Or not? What are they?
I believe the Saudis have already achieved some of their security objectives in Yemen, in that they have neutralized what they have considered the most threatening in terms of capacities to destabilize Saudi Arabia from Yemen. I think the Saudis are not naive about what it's going to take in order to stabilize Yemen. So neutralizing Houthi influence is one thing. You heard that yesterday they bombed the tarmac at Sana'a airport in order to make it more difficult for Iranian planes to land, etc. All of that helps neutralize the situation, but solving Yemen, as we said here a couple of weeks ago, is a different kettle of fish. Solving Yemen is a political process. There's now a new UN envoy because the Gulf states had objected to the previous one. And solving Yemen is about leveling the playing field and having a conversation across all factions and sects in the Gulf.
Solving Yemen, of course, would perhaps ease some of the upward pressure we've seen on oil prices, because there's been a bit of a concern about what the instability could do to the industry, to oil as a commodity. What about the change, the more dynamic economy that we're starting to see in Saudi Arabia? We had Ryan on earlier saying, you know, Total and some of the likes will be trying to reassess as to what this means. Will production go up? Will they become more liberal?
I think that Saudi Arabia is already very liberal. It's a very open economy and is very liberal with respect to investment, no capital controls, etc. The opening again of the Tadawul is a major signal for what's to come, and it's positive. I think what is interesting about developments over the past 24 hours is that they've shown us, in connection with the ship that was sequestered, I think, temporarily in the Gulf, is that geopolitical risk has not gone away. For a while, we were saying geopolitical risk has been so well factored into oil prices that, you know, what the Middle East spews in terms of conflict is not going to affect prices much anymore. Well, we've seen the spike. I mean, I think it's a temporary spike. However, it is reassuring, I think, if you're a producer in the Gulf, to see that prices actually have a floor and can rise again quite rapidly on the back of risk. They're also possibly rising again on the back of supply-demand dynamics.
Let's just finish on oil. Al-Naimi stays in charge of the oil portfolio. So from that point of view, does that shift at all? Because they're still pumping that sort of oil out of the ground, and they're going hell for leather on that. Or do you think that this new court could influence Al-Naimi?
I think that had the new court wanted a radical shift in oil policy at this stage, Mr. Al-Naimi would already have been asked to go. I think that the fact that Mr. Al-Naimi is there, it means that the court is happy with the policy of Saudi Arabia, and there is broad consensus in the kingdom on the importance of protecting market share and the capacity to survive a temporary period of quote-unquote low prices.
Let's ask you finally, Florence, a question on Iran, which you're going to have to try and answer quickly. Will a nuclear deal, a comprehensive nuclear deal, be signed by the June 30th deadline? What are your hopes?
What does my crystal ball say?
30 seconds, Florence.
I think the chances are higher than ever, but there's quite a lot of grandstanding on both sides. You've heard of the Marco proposed amendment yesterday, and you've seen this event in, the IRGC, and the ship in the Gulf also yesterday. There's going to be quite a lot of grandstanding, but I think the chances are higher than ever.
Florence, always great to have you with us, especially on a day when we get great breaking news. Florence Eid-Oakden, CEO and Chief Economist at Arabia Monitor.